The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette. Put your best face forward with our new and improved razors.
This is News Talk.
Yeah, you're welcome along to Monday evening's Off the Ball. Joe Molloy with you. Day 3 of the Tokyo Olympics. Mona McSharry, I think it's fair to say, is stealing the limelight, the Irish limelight in day 3. 20 years of age in an Olympic final. We heard her mother just there on the news. So just after 3 a.m. tonight, 3:17 to be exact, if you're being very delicate about how you set your alarm clock. So set it for about 3:15 to maximise your sleep. Only the second Irish swimmer in history to do so, still just 20 years of age. Cathal Dennehy will join us from Tokyo just after 9 o'clock for a full run through of day 3. We have Gordon Darcy and Rory O'Connor on the Lions test win against South Africa. That's on the way after 8. This hour, Dara Okaneja and Breach Stack will join us to talk about the weekend's football wins for Mayo and Kerry in their respective provincial championship finals. 53106, the text number. We're at Off the Ball on Twitter. Richie McCormack, hello to you.
Hey, Joe.
And Dave McIntyre, great to have you with us, Dave.
Hi, lads.
We will come to the Olympics in just a second, Dave, but there's been a lot of lines build up, I think, a lot of dud matches over the last number of weeks. How did Test 1 treat you?
I was pretty interested in it. The game grabbed me at times. I was en route back from Thurles on Saturday afternoon, so I got the first half live on Off the Ball with Neil on comms, and then I was home in time to watch the second half, which was probably the better of the two halves. In fairness, the game opened up a little bit. I think the Lions would have been banking on the Springboks fading a little in the last 20 to 25 minutes, and that's probably where they envisaged themselves doing most damage. And once they cleared their discipline up a bit in the second half, and the Springboks understandably did start to tire given the lack of rugby they've had in the last 18 months, the Lions managed to get enough scores on the board. But I think they are obviously in a great position, have won the first test, but the Springboks have more room to improve. I think that test will bring them on an awful lot, and they will be a much better side this Saturday.
What does Cheslin Colby have to do to get a pass?
Well, I know he's had his moments in a Springboks jersey, and obviously maybe the big one of those was in that World Cup final, and that very Cheslin Colby-esque try that he scored against England. But a man of his talents isn't necessarily suited to playing with South Africa. No. I mean, their wingers don't see traditionally an awful lot of the ball. He's not going to get the same service as he gets when he's wearing a Toulouse jersey, and he just has to bide his time. But you're right, you'd be hugely frustrated knowing the damage you can do, and you get your fingertips on the ball so seldom. It must be so frustrating, and it's frustrating as a viewer. You want to see the best players and the real game breakers getting opportunities. And look, some of that comes down to the Lions, Joe, and the way they defended at the weekend as well, and they did stop those opportunities to get the ball wide for South Africa happening very often. Did
the Lions tempt you, Richie, or were you too embedded with Olympics fever?
A little bit of both. I got the second half, much like Dave. The second half seemed like the place to be, but I only caught it on radio. I was in the old school element of not having a TV on Saturday because I was down for a little break in Wexford, so I was making do with Neil and Brian on comms, and it seemed to be the half of rugby to catch. But aside from that, it has been mostly Olympics. Once again, finding yourself ensconced and egging on sports that you haven't touched base with in a while, and suddenly you find yourself being roped in and being a quasi-expert by the time you've seen 2 or 3 reps of the same thing over the last while. So yeah, it's been one of those weekends where once you got in front of a TV, or indeed by a radio, in my case on Saturday, it was hard to let go.
Yeah, Brian Driscoll, Neil Tracy, they'll have commentary of the second test as well this Saturday, and third test obviously. We'll see if the Lions can wrap up the series on Saturday. I mean, there's a lot of Olympics coming at us. I just opened my phone there yesterday morning and saw some poor skateboarder get the Phil Babb treatment for one thing.
Oh, yeah, split between the posts.
Yeah,
it was nasty. But yeah, it's been weird seeing skateboarding make its debut, because I think that across the board the opinion of it has been like, you kind of think of skateboarding, you think of playing Tony Hawk on the PlayStation, and you think of the great exploits that he would have gone through, and you're watching documentaries like Dogtown and Z-Boys and thinking it's going to be massively spectacular and awe-inspiring and thrilling from start to finish, and it just hasn't been. It's been pretty disappointing from the get-go, just as a spectacle. And I guess not having fans there, it's one of those sports that's really paying for not having fans, but it's just been a bit shrug of your shoulders kind of stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it turns out that it's not, the difficulty is such that you're saying, right, wow me, and they do something that looks not dissimilar to what you might see a couple of lads doing outside the estate one day, and then this is kind of it. It's not like they're going up ramps and doing 540s.
Yeah, I mean, it has produced its own stories, like Momiji Nishia at 13 years of age becoming an Olympic medalist today. She's only 6, I think, when they actually gave the okay for this to be an Olympic sport this time round. I mean, that's a story. Like, a 13-year-old coming away with a gold medal is enough to make us all feel absolutely useless.
But they're all kids. They're all kids. No one over 25 in it.
I know they're all kids, but like, they're not handing medals out in Fairview Park for the lads and lasses that are doing their bits on the half pipe around there.
I'd say there's a few lads in Fairview watching it going, hang on, what? This is all...
There are those stories though. There was a petulant kind of article put out yesterday. I think your man Michael Cox, who's zonal marking, people might have seen on Twitter, with this story of the highest level footballers are better. Like, comparing any sport, you're off to a bad start anyway. But it is saying top level footballers are better than the top level performers in literally any other sport. Like, there's no actual way you can measure that. But there are stories that do come out saying, of random sports, like somebody's been doing the pole vault for only the last 5 years, and here they are at the Olympics. Somebody's been doing, you've got a 13-year-old who's a skateboarder, and suddenly they're at the Olympics. So you do throw up these weird anomalies whereby there's a view from the outside that people haven't paid their dues, or people haven't put in the hard yards of the years of experience and being a grizzled veteran finally getting there. They do have these nice stories that 13-year-olds can go and win Olympic medals. The
time difference obviously is an issue. So I remember interviewing Annalise Murphy maybe 2-3 weeks before she was due to fly out to Tokyo, and she was talking about how hard she had worked, and sometimes if you speak to someone in advance, you're that bit more invested in them. And she was talking about how hard she'd been working. She had set up like this kind of bizarre heat room in her house where she'd got all her mum's friends to get Dyson hair dryers and various hair dryers and turn them on full blast, and the heating up, and just trying to train in this kind of intensity. And she said basically she was sure she had worked harder than any other competitor out there. And obviously London, there was heartbreak at 4th, there's silver in Rio, and she really was saying, look, I think this could be gold. And she said as well, this is probably going to be my last Olympics, because to quote her in that interview, she said, look, I'm 31, I'm still living at home. You kind of give up a lot to do this, so this is probably my last Olympics. And so I was just watching the highlights, and it turns out in her first race, and again, you're talking 5 years wait for this, an epic amount of work. And as they're all kind of going around in little small circles waiting for the gun to go off and for the race to start, she clashes with another boat, completely ruins her start. She ends up on totally the wrong side of the racing line she wants to start on. And from there on, it's just been, well, dreadful really by her standards. She's 32nd at the moment. She has 4 races done, 6 to go. In London and Rio she got off to brilliant starts. It's been the polar opposite here. And so what she said afterwards was, it's heartbreaking, you put so much into it, it doesn't reward you, I'm pretty upset. And I saw that and I just thought, oh. And Dave, to be honest, there have been a lot of very upset Irish athletes talking about 4 years work and lifetimes work going down the drain very, very quickly. The Olympics is brutal. You forget how brutal the Olympics is sometimes.
Yeah, well, in these sports where the Olympics is the pinnacle, like every other sport, you can usually have a seasonal element to it. And I know there are world championships and European championships and World Cup meetings and Grand Prix across the various sports that we may not even know at times that these people are competing on a semi-regular basis. I know, like, for example, rowing is the pinnacle where you want an Olympic gold, but there are still world championships every year in Europeans. But when you think about someone, particularly given the 5-year gap between the 2 Olympic Games, for it to go so badly and for you not really to feel that you've done yourself justice, I just can't imagine how hollow a feeling that is. And we've seen, as you say, some really devastated Irish athletes, a lot of tears, a lot of frustration, a lot of anger. And unfortunately, the good news stories have been considerably outweighed by the disappointing stories. And even among people we thought might run for a medal, I know, in the pool, things have gone very well, and that has been the standout story of the last 24 hours. But even the win that our hockey team had was quickly overshadowed by the hiding they shipped to the hands of the Dutch, albeit some late goals there. And we had disappointment in the canoeing this morning. You would hope things will pick up. The Boxers haven't had it all the wrong way. I think the draw has been really tough on them, but let's hope things pick up in the ring as well. We're waiting for that breakout moment. Maybe it might come at 14 minutes past 3 tonight, as you said earlier.
Yeah. Well, the Dutch, best team in the world, so they were always going to win that game. I think the Irish hockey team still have a good chance of qualifying. Men's sevens didn't go well.
The sevens has been very disappointing.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to seeing them do well after they were so brilliant in qualifying.
Well, let's get into it, because I know, Rich, it's obviously a fairly meaty part of your news round, which is brought to us with thanks to Gillette. Put your best face forward with their new and improved razors. So Olympics roundup, Richie, and I presume we are starting with the woman of the moment.
Yeah, Mona McSharry became just the second ever Irish swimmer to make an Olympic final today. Her time of 1 minute 6.59 seconds was enough to see the Sligo woman qualify 8th fastest in the 100 metre breaststroke. So a bit of a dose of what's to come there later on. That final takes place at 3:17 a.m. Irish time tomorrow morning. And McSharry says she's in bonus territory from here on.
I'm over the moon, that was the target, make it round by round. And when I got the semi-finals yesterday, it was just the plan to compete and race and try and make it into a final. And, I knew it was going to be tough. I was in 9th already, having moved up from my starting position. So I knew it was going to be a push. Everyone's, swimming fast, and it is really competitive. But I'm just so happy to be able to get another opportunity to race tomorrow.
We'll talk about this more with Carl Dennehy. I mean, she does have pedigree. She's the junior world champion. She won that title in 2017, so she's been coming for a while, but she has really delivered here on the Olympic stage. So it's great for her, aged just 20. So Carl Dennehy is on the way after 9 o'clock. She made the final by 0.01 of a second. 0.01 of a second. These are the margins between Olympic final and the whole country celebrating you. And then... didn't quite make the final. So these are the crazy margins. But Mona McSharry in a final this evening. So we wish her all the best. An amazing achievement, aged just 20. Where else are we going, Richie?
We're staying in the pool for now because Brendan Hyland was third in his heat of the men's 200 metre butterfly, but finishing 23rd overall saw him deprived of progress. Ellen Walsh's time of 2 minutes 13.34 seconds wasn't enough to progress from the 200 metre individual medley heats. The 19-year-old Dubliner, though, did improve on her pre-meet ranking of 20th to finish in 19th overall. Another disappointing morning, as you mentioned, for the Irish boxers in Tokyo. Michaela Walsh lost her last 16 featherweight bout against Italy's Irma Testa by unanimous decision, while Brendan Irvin came off the worst of a split decision in his flyweight last 32 bout with Carlo Palam of the Philippines. Irvin returned to the ring, on March 2019 after 18 months out, so today's loss was particularly hard to take.
Yeah, absolutely devastated to not win. I've put so much in these past 3 years to get here, so you can understand why it's a wee bit emotional and upsetting, but I'm mentally proud to be representing my country and the boxing team, to be captain Demons. Just have to try and pick myself up and support Demons for the rest of the time here.
Yeah, it's tough to go from carrying the flag to that. Better news in the badminton?
Yeah, and better news particularly for Nat Wen. He was a straight sets victor over Sri Lanka's Niluka Karunaratne in the group stage of the men's singles badminton. Wen will take on Taipei's Wang Ziwei for a place in the last 16 on Wednesday. And the 21-year-old says he's reaping the benefits of a good preparation.
I had a good 7 weeks, really good 7 weeks of practice in Ireland. So for me was, for the last, when I arrived in Fukurai, was just maintaining, again, my condition and my... energy levels, and also my condition and and just my mental side, just to be motivated, because I'm in Japan 16 days now before I competed, so it was tough. I've never had this 2 weeks of just waiting, dying to play, so I was happy that I just went on court and gave my all today.
Super. And if you could dedicate this win to anyone today, who would you dedicate it to?
Definitely my family and my parents at home. They sacrificed a lot for me and my sister, and I'm just happy to give back and just give something for my parents to cheer and something for my parents to be happy about, because they've worked very hard for... I'm pretty sure they're working today in our Chinese, so they're working all day, every day. So I'm happy just to... I will give them a call after this game, and I'm happy just to give my all and make them proud. That's what I play badminton for now.
Jeez, talk about winning your opening Olympic match and taking it in your stride there. Shout out to mum and dad at work. Amazing.
You see some of the clips of his match show. I mean, we are watching badminton. The athleticism is incredible, the staying power. But one thing that strikes you watching top level badminton is the scant reward for the sheer effort that is put into some of the shots. Like, they're putting their full body and everything they possibly can into a shot. And so the shuttlecock can only travel at a certain speed. No matter what you do with it, it's never going to absolutely, blitz over that net. But the depth of touch and their ability to dig a shot up off the ground before it hits the deck, and it's exhausting just watching these guys at the top level.
I think there could be an OTB video piece where you go and play Nat and say, look, Nat, it can only go so fast. Swing easy, my man, swing easy. Just like this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm sure he'd be happy to take tips from a man who's never set foot in a badminton court.
Indeed, but listen, we're media, we'll critique him all night long. So his next match is Wednesday. If he wins that, he's through to the last 16. He's still in group stages. I mean, just trying to get your head around all the formats is half the challenge here. So that's his deal. He won today. That was his opening match. He goes again Wednesday. If he wins that, he's through to the round of 16. Richie, I know Annalise Murphy's next.
Yeah, 32nd overall in the laser radial after finishes of 28th and 37th respectively in the third and fourth races today. Races 5 and 6 take place tomorrow, with the 2016 silver medalist needing a place inside the top 10 after 10 races to get through to that medal final. Ireland's rugby sevens team, they need a win over Kenya and a favourite elsewhere in the small hours of tomorrow morning to stand any chance of making the quarterfinals. Anthony Eddie's side were beaten by the USA and South Africa in Pool C today, while Ireland were beaten 4-0 by gold medal favourites the Netherlands in their second Pool A match in the women's hockey. The Irish team have 3 more matches to play in the pool, starting with Germany on Wednesday. Following that, it's India on Friday before taking on Great Britain on Saturday. And Clare's Liam Jegu missed out on a place in the final of the canoe slalom. He finished last of 15 in the semi-finals after he was penalised for missing 2 gates.
I was just going to say, so finishing last, it sounds like he didn't do very well, whereas actually he was 15th of 15 out, and he was going faster than any of the previous 14. He was flying along, but you miss a gate and it's unbelievably punitive. They had 50 seconds onto your time. He missed 2 gates. Obviously head went a bit after the first. That's 100 seconds onto your time, so you're obviously gonzo at that stage. But he started so well, so he was absolutely distraught. It was he was one of those Olympians that where it's kind of your heart melts for them a little bit, because he's just talking about a lifetime's work and all the rest of it, and just missing 2 gates cost him. So that was Clare's Liam Jegu. Where are we going next?
The triathlon, Russell White was 48th today for Ireland in that final. The Banbridge native was 9 minutes and 36 seconds behind the eventual winner, Christian Blumenfeld of Norway. Carolyn Hayes is due to compete in the women's triathlon from 10:30 tonight. That's Irish time as well, but the weather may have other ideas. There's a storm brewing over in Tokyo.
Yeah, saw that. I think it's been downgraded from typhoon, but it's still not good. In one of the triathlons, again, it's hard to keep track, I saw there was a false start and a bunch had jumped into the water and sprinted 150 metres before a speedboat has to come round and tell them, actually, all that energy you've just expended, you're going to have to go back and do that again, which was one of the more odd moments. And then in the cycling, did you see this last night? Women's cycling, there was a complete unknown who just went for broke from the very start. She just figured this was the best way to do it. She pulls clear, she wins. She's so far ahead that the second place rider, they don't have radios at the Olympics, so you're relying on more outdated methods of communication. The rider who finished second put her hands in the air because she thought she'd won gold, and she's hugging those closest to her and eventually finds out actually you haven't won gold. Just these extraordinary moments that pop up in the Olympics. I mean, fairly embarrassing for her, Dave, but what are you going to do? It's still silver, but geez, I don't know. I mean, let them use radios maybe.
Yeah. I mean, even when you tell the story, and I watched the highlights of it, it's scarcely believable that could happen at top level sport, that someone has gone so far off you that you've almost forgotten that they exist. And you're crossing the line thinking that's it, gold medal in hand, and you're told, well, you've actually finished well behind the winner. And it's almost taken the gloss off the effort that the winner put in to be able to, tactically. I read an awful lot about her background. She's a mathematician by trade, and she had spent a lot of time investigating the effects of heat on the body and the best way to approach this. And obviously all that fed into her decision to try and, go all the way out there and hope that you could hold them off. But she held them off to such an extent that the peloton forgot she was in the race at all. It's astonishing.
I know, there's a clip of the rider who ultimately finished second, shouting to TV because she couldn't communicate with her team, what's the gap? And the TV thought that she meant to the rider in front of her, but she meant how far clear am I? So the TV are telling her, you're miles ahead, and she's grand and ploughing on in second place. So it seemed like an utterly bizarre race. So that's the Olympics. We'll come back to the Olympics after 9 in a big way. Kyle Dennehy is going to join us. The Lions then, Richie, they're sweating on Dan Biggar for one.
Yeah, he's going to return to training on Thursday following the head injury protocols that he had to undergo following his removal on Saturday. The fly half took a blow to the head during that first test victory over South Africa on Saturday. Finn Russell is back in training after an Achilles problem, but Wyn Jones is doubtful for the second test against the Springboks. He has a shoulder issue. Meanwhile, Lions defence coach Steve Tandy insists the officials did a good job on Saturday night, Box director of rugby, Razi Erasmus, helped by the mysterious Jaco Johan on Twitter, has been dissecting the officials' performance, particularly Ali Price escaping punishment for a seeming tip tackle in Cheslin Colby. But Tandy today wasn't rising to Erasmus' bait.
Yeah, look, I think at half time, I think the boys were really calm and understood it. We probably we give a couple of cheap penalties away in the first half that we didn't need to, and just talking about how we can impose ourselves by being smart and around that. And I think that, like we said, the officials done a really good job, and then the balance of power changed in around the penalty count for us by looking after what we can look after. So that was really pleasing from the boys, how they adapted. And at the end of the day, the physical, intense test matches, the things that, like, there are, like you said, there are absolutely fine margins in lots of things, but I think we definitely got that right in the second half.
Yeah, Jaco Johan has really grabbed the rugby Twitter world. So he's using some of the same text that Razi Erasmus does. And so, for instance, he used a yellow circle to highlight foul play. Erasmus does this as well. Off the Ball currently employing our top forensic linguistic experts to try and confirm who is behind the Jaco Johan account, which is tweeting very similar stuff to Razi. So all of that madness is going on. But
had a good look through his likes last night, Joe, as well. It was all Munster and Leinster stuff from 2014 for the most part, which, if you do the timeline of that, probably will tell its own tale.
Well, look, Jaco got into Irish rugby for a while. He's been laying low, and now that the Lions is back on, he's back into it. That's, you know,
that's fair enough. That happens. look, it's like people watching badminton and canoe slalom today. Like, he's just gotten back into the rugby after a 4-year spell. He's invigorated by Lions rugby, and who isn't, to be quite fair.
And seems to see the game very similarly to Erasmus. You know, just really a lot of the same issues he kind of are bothering him. So on the GAA front, then, round it up for us before we sign off.
Yeah, Porky Quay has been confirmed as the host for Saturday's All-Ireland hurling quarter-final clash of Waterford and Tipperary. That one will throw in at 1:30. Cork will face Dublin at Semple Stadium that evening. That's going to have a 7 p.m. start. While Kerry are the 2021 Munster football champions and are back into an All-Ireland semi-final after Paul Ganey found the net twice for the Kingdom in a 422-19 win at Fitzgerald Stadium yesterday afternoon. Kerry will play the winner of Tyrone and Monaghan in the All-Ireland semi-final, while Mayo will play either Dublin or Kildare in the other side of the draw. James Horan's side beating Galway by 6 points yesterday to claim back-to-back Connacht titles, 2-14 to 2-8 the final score at Croke Park, with Ryan O'Donoghue and Matthew Ruan scoring the goals for Horan's side.
Guys, compare the narrative, says Keane from Athlone, from GAA commentators and pundits after Cork's loss to Kerry with Leitrim's loss to Mayo 2 weeks ago. Results almost identical, but the response is very different. The narrative on Leitrim is that they're out of their depth, not worthy of championship football against Mayo. Championship needs restructuring. When it came to Cork suffering the same result, we get silence. Double standards, reckons Keane from Athlone. I suppose looks similar score lines as such, but Cork did beat Kerry last year and did start better and do feel like they've more of a puncher's chance against Kerry. I mean, they were obliterated, but probably have been less routinely obliterated than Leitrim against Mayo over the last number of years, Dave, I guess the point.
Yeah, I don't. All due respect to that listener, you're not comparing like with like. Leitrim aren't winning provincial titles at under 20 level and minor level. They don't have an enormous population. They don't have the history that Cork have in winning All-Ireland titles at the various grades. They didn't beat Mayo last year. I really don't think you're comparing like for like. The Cork a Division 2 team this year, Leitrim a Division 4 team. I just don't think it's a fair comparison. Cork's collapse was pathetic in an awful lot of ways, and they didn't lay a finger on Kerry in that second half. And given the resource that Cork have, there's simply no way that in 2021 they should be losing a Munster final by over 20 points. Just shouldn't be happening. No.
So, fellas, we are pretty much out of time. Last text or two, Mick in Cork. Caoimhín Kelleher only started playing in goal when he was 14. This was on the young Olympians. Yeah, amazing, really. And Tom and Kerry, lads, I had a skateboard in the 80s. It was yellow. Thanks for the extra bit of info there, Tom. It was yellow, everyone. Picture the yellow skateboard. Didn't work so well with all the road chippings. No, I would think not. They stopped it dead. No handrails or cool things to slide off. No helmets either. A buddy of my father's accidentally rolled over it. What could have been, Tom, you could have been in the Olympics. You could have been the oldest Olympian in the skateboard category, Tom. And Clare Hall Chinese is a takeaway that Nat's mum and dad own. Great kid, great family, great food from a former supplier. Yeah, nice text to get in. Mad to think they're working away today and their son is winning his opening Olympic match. Fellas, we are done. Thanks so much. Dave McIntyre, pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
Richie McCormick, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Cheers, Rich.
Cheers, lads.
Now, time to enter our competition.
The Bank Holiday Bonus.
On News Talk.
So this does what it says in the tin. This is the Bank Holiday Bonus on News Talk. We're giving you the chance to win cash every day. So earlier on today, Ursula from lovely Enniscrone in County Sligo won €5,000.
We've picked a number at random, that's how we do it. You answered your phone within 5 rings, Ursula. You answered correctly. And you've just won €5,000, Ursula! Woohoo! Congratulations!
Thank you so much.
That makes Monday a bit easier, I would think. So we've another chance for you to win another €5,000 to give away. We'll ask a question. You have until 5 o'clock tomorrow to answer. If you answer correctly, then we could be calling you on the hard shoulder just after 5 o'clock. It is that simple. You have to answer within 5 rings and you would win that day's Bank Holiday Bonus. If we don't get an answer, then we'll roll the cash over into a brand new win. So to be in with a chance to win tomorrow, just answer this question. The Edge is a member of which famous Irish rock band? So The Edge is a member of which famous Irish rock band? Is it A, Picture This, or B, U2? So text the word play followed by A or B to 57599. That's the number, 57599. Entries cost €2.50. You must be 18 years of age or over and you're playing across the Go Loud network. You'll find full terms and conditions on newstalk.com. So again, text the word play, your answer, A or B, to 57599. And send that in by 5 o'clock tomorrow for your chance to win the €5,000. And then just stand by to answer our call after 5 o'clock within 5 rings, and the 5K Bank Holiday Bonus could be yours.